I'm John Stillwaggon, Senior Vice President of Sales for DS-Concept, based here in New York. DS-Concept is a 17-year-old international trade finance and export factoring company. We're headquartered in Germany and with 13 global offices. There's a lot of focus these days on building a secure supply chain from a physical sourcing point of view and logistics, but there should be a similar focus on ensuring that your vendors have sufficient financing to produce the orders that you place with them. There's been a disconnect between the quality of the customers that these factories in emerging markets are working with and the quality of the financing available to those factories in emerging markets. So they might be selling to a Fortune 100, but they're working with a local regional bank that might not be able to really support their needs. So the trend is for the financing to go across borders, just like the purchase orders are going across borders. So there's a changing emphasis now on looking towards the quality of the customer or the importer, the company placing the purchase order, and not just on the financials of the exporter. Another trend is that financing is being originated from the buyer side and leveraging the credit of these big buyers, bringing that capital back to the vendor in the emerging market where the local institutions might not be able to support them. Partnering with Nexus has allowed us to leverage the information, the visibility of the Nexus platform to allow us to go deeper into the supply chain. So typically, there are a lot of options for financing once an export's been made and once a shipment's been made. But the problem that most exporters face is really getting the money to buy the raw materials to do the production in order to make that shipment happen. And leveraging the visibility and the information that we can access through the Nexus platform, for instance, allows us to go deeper into that supply chain and really support the pre-export or production period. So one challenge that we're seeing and one opportunity that we're seeing is you have a big buyer, pretend it's a big global retailer, Fortune 1000 company. They're buying from a factory, and there are financiers and banks out there looking at that pair and now beginning to leverage the credit of the buyer in order to support the financing of the vendor, mainly focused on that sale between those two. What DS-Concept is doing that's a bit novel is looking even further up the supply chain. So in order for that manufacturer, that factory, to produce the goods to sell to the retailer, they need to buy raw materials, they need to pay their workers, keep the lights on, keep the machines running, and so on. So there are a couple steps that might be further up the supply chain. What we're doing is leveraging the big credit at the end of this supply chain and bringing this all the way up through the factory, through the intermediate stages, even to the raw materials. And putting that together is something unique that we're doing. So what we're doing is freeing up capital and stretching that through the supply chain to where it's needed, eliminating bottlenecks throughout the supply chain, because you might have big orders or big productive capacity or a lot of raw materials, but you really need capital and finance to put those three things together and allow everyone to buy as much as they need, sell as much as they can. And that's what we're doing. So freeing up capital, providing security throughout the supply chain, and allowing these SMEs to take orders from even the largest retailers in the world securely, safely, and be bullish and aggressive in their growth.